daughters are so embarrassed.
All new.
Good answer.
Family Feud.
Brought to you by We Are the Caring Store, waiting to serve you. It's time to experience independent living. Visit us today.
We are back for season 2 of Corner Office. We are highlighting small businesses, hard-working Jamaicans who are doing their own thing in their own spaces. People who are in their role, bossing up their role.
Let's go!
Let's get it! It's not if you own the company or not, it's how you own the role. Ice cream is coming. Guess what? It is your Corner Office. Season 2, bigger and better. And guess what? You don't think it's not yet? Check it out. We're the end of the place. Undercover. Easy yourself.
It's Tuesday, March 18, 2025. Welcome to CVM News at noon. I'm Ramon Gordon. Head of the St. Elizabeth Police, Superintendent Coleridge Mento, is now at home, resting and recovering well following a motor vehicle crash last Thursday. Mento was receiving treatment at the Black River Hospital and was later transferred to the University Hospital of the West Indies until he was discharged on Monday. And opposition leader Mark Golding is set to contribute to the 2025-2026 budget debate today, with political commentator Dr. Paul Bourne highlighting key issues he must tackle to convince Jamaicans that the PNP is a viable alternative.
But I think what Mark Golding should actually do tomorrow in his presentation or when he presents is the issue relating to education must be addressed. The issue relating to public standard, people's standard of living must be addressed. The transport system must be also examined. The public sector needs to be examined, and he needs to convince Jamaicans that he doesn't only understand what is actually going on, but is putting forward policies and programs to make their lives better.
Political commentator Jermaine Barrett agrees, stating that both parties share equal responsibility. However, he believes Golding should focus on providing or proving that his administration can better handle key issues like education and infrastructure.
Jamaicans are demanding both. Jamaicans are demanding that for the opposition to win their votes, the opposition must prove to them that they are a better option than the ruling Jamaica Labour Party administration. They also, I think, have to contend with a bit of their past and the level of, one could argue, underdevelopment that would have come about with their with their administrations over the years. You would recognize, George, that the former Prime Minister PJ Patterson has really become active in the campaign, really defending his legacy. But as he does that, he's essentially opening himself up to attacks and scrutiny, and I think that's going to be a part of the conversation in these budget debates. You'd have seen it with Favour Williams' comments about the run with it era, the era of what she contends to be fiscal irresponsibility and so forth. I don't think that there's a difference between both parties, generally speaking, with respect to fiscal responsibilities. The fiscal arrangements are firmly established within Jamaica. I think what he has to do tomorrow is to come with ideas that really reflect superior calibration of the resources that we have to the advantage of Jamaicans. And you're talking about Jamaicans demanding more in terms of more cash in their pockets, better jobs. I hear my colleague commentator referencing the matter of education. There needs to be a proper and a viable plan for the build out of education in a far more sustainable way. And so forth, and he needs to really agitate that his administration would do better than, for example, the administration of the day is doing with respect to roads, with respect to water, and all of those kinds of things. So the demand is incredible for him, but alas, that's how politics is.
And a fire tore through sections of the Ocho Rios market on Sunday, taking with it millions of dollars in produce. Stalls were destroyed and some vendors lost everything. No major injuries have been reported, but political representatives say the situation is devastating. Here's Courtney Lewis.
These were the charred remains of millions of dollars in produce and grown provision after a fire at the Ocho Rios market in St. Anne on Sunday afternoon. While the fire was contained to one section of the market, vendors described the harrowing experience. One vendor was outside when the blaze began.
Enter the market and I see this on the fire and the building right here.
It was actually the garbage bin?
No, it wasn't actually garbage bin. And I saw the two of them in grass of fire. I just came in and get busy, kick off door, cut off light, and just do the good job.
Okay, good job.
So I come and help save some things.
A vendor of 19 years expressed anguish over her loss, desperate for a fresh start.
Onion, Irish, brown position, I can't even name all of it, and the star, but me just build up, lose the board them, I sing them everything. So, and I'm a single parent, so I wish if I could get back there.
Both the councillor and the St. Anne's Bay mayor visited the site at the weekend, and while they're glad no injuries have been reported, the mayor describes the situation as heartrending.
I've been doing the mayor for St. Anne for well over 8 years now, and this is the worst I've seen it ever. This is a total devastation of one section of the Ocho Rios market, total devastation. So what it means now is that we're going to have to figure out it's right now how we're going to clean up. And the investigations is going to have to be done firstly, then afterwards we're going to have to go into a cleanup and then some sort of rehabilitation.
The suspected cause of the fire has been linked to faulty electrical wiring.
We're understanding that the fire was started by electrical issues. What that means, we're not 100% sure, but the last set of fires that we've been having in the market have been called because of illegal connections. So it's something that we have to deal with.
Investigations into the incident continue. Courtney Lewis for CVM News.
Amid growing concerns over parental access at the Bustamante Children's Hospital, a petition has been launched calling for changes to the current policy. Speaking on Sunrise, one advocate said spending the night with a child is a basic right and urged for policy adjustments to reflect this.
Ever since in medical school, I would have felt very strongly about this issue, right? And then this petition came up where this parent actually experienced it and as a result of it, decided to launch this petition on the Office of the Prime Minister website. And this petition is basically saying, just recently, he's had this experience where he was not allowed to stay with his child. He also gives us details on other children who were crying, other parents who were torn away from their children in this institution, right? So once this happened, of course, being passionate about it for so long, it obviously triggered in me a desire to push it as hard as I can to get this policy to be changed. We know that this is not a policy that the staff is actually, making persons aware of. That's number one. And number two, really and truly, this is a right.
Yes.
And we're not looking for your... It's not a privilege. I believe that the petition, you have three months in order to get enough signatures, and we're almost there. But as
April
I said, there's
30th
that...
is a cut-off point, I get to understand, yeah.
So there's that discrepancy, right? Because a lot of people are not clicking that link to authenticate their email address. So they need to do that, because even though you may have over 20,000 people that have signed, only 11,000 is being counted.
Residents of Middlesex, Hanover are voicing frustration over the deteriorating road conditions, which they say have led to multiple accidents. The latest incident occurred last Friday when a Toyota Voxy veered off the roadway, leaving 3 people seriously injured and requiring hospital treatment. Locals are now calling on authorities to intervene before more lives are at risk.
We have so many children going to school, people going to work, so we have to protect the citizens of the parish. So we are asking who is in control. We need a wall here, please. Just last week something go over there. So we don't want it to happen again. Please, we are begging you.
There's more to come right after this break. Stay with us.
Is your conformance testing partner with over 54 years of serving Jamaican businesses. Our world-class lab testing services ensure the safety of your food and commodities that you take to market. We are positioned as a business enabler, driving business development, competitiveness, trade, and ensuring consumer safety. We have 5 times the capacity to test over other local labs, plus 10 labs with accredited tests and calibration. We set the standard that promotes safety to consumers in a number of industries, including food processing, agriculture, and construction, having tested over 57,000 products on average annually and growing.
Hi, my name is Welton Gooden and I'm the Executive Director of the Bureau of Standards. Let us take your products from lab to market.
Tired of the high interest rates and the whole heap of loan payments every month? Take a debt consolidation loan from AIM to pay credit card bills and all other high interest rate loans from other institutions. Make one low monthly payment to AIM and take home some extra money in your pocket. That's financial freedom. One loan, one low payment, more money in your pocket. Call AIM today to lower your loan payments. And remember, you won't find a better deal elsewhere. Guaranteed.
Welcome back. This is CVM News at noon. Now, Opposition Leader Mark Golding is set to make his presentation today in the 2025-2026 budget debate. This is the last opportunity for the opposition to make their claim before the Prime Minister closes the debate. Joining us to discuss expectations of Golding's presentation is political commentator Lloyd B. Smith. Mr. Smith, again, thank you for joining us.
You're most welcome. Happy to be here.
Great. Now a look back. How would you describe the presentations of the Finance Minister and the opposition spokesperson on finance?
Well, I think the Finance Minister's presentation overall was credible, and she acquitted herself well, given the fact that this was her debut presentation. Of course, there were a number of loopholes in what she had to offer, and in general, the question of, I don't know if the matter of inflation in particular was sufficiently addressed, and the whole aspect to do with cost of living, because outside of a few goodies that she mentioned, there is still a disconnect between the Holiness Administration and the wider Jamaican public with respect to how are they surviving day by day. In other words, the kitchen table issues need to be more substantially addressed. But overall, I would give her a B.
A B. And the opposition?
In terms of the opposition.
Forgive
Hello?
me. You're about to get to the opposition spokesperson. Forgive me.
Yes. Julian Robinson has been coming into his own. In previous presentations, he was sort of like a neophyte, but I think he has grown into the position now and has appeared more confident and assertive. His presentation was overall, I thought, on point. And I think it was good for him to have helped to set the stage for the leader of opposition presentation by giving the whole question of credibility to the fact that it was not just the JLP that brought about this great opportunity that Jamaica now has in terms of fiscal prudence and fiscal management. It all started with the PMP back then and was successfully carried on by Dr. Nigel Clark and the JLP. So I think setting that historical data correct was one of his most outstanding aspects of his presentation.
Sir Smith, one commentator has described Julian's performance, or Mr. Robinson's performance rather, as prime ministerial. What do you make of that assessment?
He came across as being mature, as I said. He has come into his own. He reflects to me the type of politician that Jamaica needs, quite frankly. Not very tribal, steadied in his approach, patriotic, And yes, I would say that he has exuded some amount of prime ministerial, shall we say, attitude. Yes.
Very well. And to further solidify your point, the Fiscal Commission does agree that the government's budget is, as you say, credible. Moving right along, the opposition has been very critical, yes, of the government's money management. How do you think this will manifest in today's presentation?
Well, I think Mr. Golding's background in banking and finance should enable him to be able to delineate those aspects of the government's financial programs and positions that the wider Jamaican public needs to understand. I would advise him, though, not to get too much caught up in a lot of what I would call highfalutin details, because the average Jamaican out there just wants what we would call the beef.
I see.
And so they're going to be asking, where's the beef? And he has to produce the beef and not just take us on a long ride of, fanciful thinking, because it is known that very often budget presentations can be flights of fancy rather than steeped in reality.
Certainly. Hold it right there, Sir Smith. We're talking budget expectations ahead of the opposition leader's presentation today in Parliament. This is CVM News at noon. Welcome back. We're joined by political commentator Lloyd B. Smith, and we're talking expectations ahead of the opposition's leader's presentation in Parliament today. Now, Sir Smith, we're talking expectations of Golding. If you'll recall, last year there was a major walkout, yes? Are you expecting any other theatrics, or do you believe that Golding will pull any more surprises this year? That's the question to ask.
Well, I think Mr. Golding should have matured somewhat and realized that, right now swords are drawn. Let's be realistic, because we are now going into the final throes of having a very crucial and pivotal general election. And so I would advise him, as I had said before, to stay away from the tribal politics, the throwing of words and that sort of thing, which may rile up the government side. And to some extent may detract from his overall presentation. And this is why he will have to act prime ministerial and indeed presidential in his presentation, to come across as someone with a great deal of sanguinity and purpose and vision, and not just be seen as another politician seeking to score points, because we are now in that silly season where it's all about scoring points and beating one's chest and that sort of thing. I hope he does not take that approach. He should rise above the fray.
Sir Smith, you said it yourself, it's a high-stakes election year, yes? So to what extent might Mr. Golding's performance affect his chances at Gordon House?
Well, he has to be credible, and he has to present an alternative to what the JLP is offering. Now, in terms of the macroeconomic dynamics, he doesn't have much room there to play with. So he now has to focus on that other aspect of government, which has to do with governance, which has to do with providing the average Jamaican with a reasonable way of life where they can go to the supermarket or the shop and go home not wringing their hands in grief, not having been able to provide sufficiently for themselves. So he has to focus more on that side. Jamaicans usually find budget presentations very boring and academic in parts. So I would advise him to stick to simple formula and give the people, the kind of information that they can easily digest. It means that he has to be able to communicate effectively with the average Jamaican out there, who right now is very distrustful of government, very skeptical of politicians. He is an almost unknown quantity to the Jamaican electorate, even though he has been there for some time. But in real terms, he has never sat in Jamaica House. He has never won a general election. So to some extent, Golding is an unknown quantity. And so he has to use this opportunity to thrust himself into the living rooms of the Jamaican people and show who he really is. What is his vision? What is his roadmap? You know, and stay away, as I said, from the tribal and petty politicking, which at this stage should be reserved for the hustings, but not in God's house.
Very well. Mr. Smith, always a pleasure. That was political commentator Lloyd B. Smith. Thank you, as always, for joining us.